I want to know. I want to know about Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think it's unique, Christian. Like, I think when I think about Notre Dame and I think about my experience and where I'm at today, I just think of the word excellence. That carries over into our lives today. That as a 28-year-old entrepreneur who's on a second venture looking to do something else, and I think that's what comes with Notre Dame.
I just think the matchup is so good, and I really hope that the product is what all of the things that I've seen on tape are going to lead to, because it's going to come out to be, I think, a really good college football semifinal football game.
I think we're going to do a good job of defending, 44, Warren, who seems to be the only target.
It's been a tough task.
The only target.
It's been a tough task.
Yeah, but who else do you, again, I might.
I know what you're saying. It's been a tough task, though.
How about running into the fucking punter twice? I think that's brilliant. I think that's a mind fuck.
I don't know if that's brilliant. I think that's a little homer coming out of you. I don't know how brilliant that same guy too. I don't know how brilliant that is, but
quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn
And this segment's brought to you by Family Clothesline. They kept us looking sharp all weekend. I'm currently wearing one of the Lulu Polos. It's a Family Clothesline exclusive. Make sure you guys check out Family Clothesline for all of your Penn State apparel needs.
Listen, folks, I got a very special guest here, Brandon Wimbush, one of my guys. Some of you Penn State faithful might remember him. He was committed to us right after I was leaving. He broke our hearts, flipped to Notre Dame. But regardless, got a ton of respect for this dude. Been really cool keeping up. Life gets in the way sometimes, but was happy to get him on here. And what better time to catch up than before this Penn State Notre Dame matchup in the college football playoff semifinals.
Yeah, no, great time, Chris. And honestly, man, when I think back to, you talked about committing, I think back to that. Can I curse or no?
Yeah, you let it fly, dude.
That practice that I came to, Christian, and I sat outside. I think it was, I don't know who you guys were playing that week. It was snowing, and I just sat back there with you, like on the field, in the huddles, and you made me feel like royalty. Between you and Coach Franklin, you like brought me in. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's just who you are, but I think I had committed on this visit, I believe, and you were just all about me, all about like getting the next guy in to be the face of the program. At that point, you were the fucking, you know what I mean? You were the royalty. And I just remember it was snowing, it was freezing. And again, I was the only recruit at practice that day and sat on the field the entire practice. And you were just like, yeah, B, this is what we're doing here. Come with me here. We're going over here. We're throwing this. We're doing this, reading this way. And I think Coach Franklin was just like, stick right next to 14 the entire. It was great, man. It was freezing. But yeah, I don't know what year might have that been. That might have been 2013. So now we're talking 12 years.
12, 13 years removed now. We're old heads now.
Yeah, man.
We're old heads now.
So, but
man. Dude, thanks for taking the time. But a lot of that had to do, my pops had the chance to work with you at the Elite 11, had some good things to say.
That's right. It wasn't you.
Like, all right, I'll take it. Yeah. It was my dad giving me a little, hey, this kid's a good kid. He can throw it a little bit, All right, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. But that's good stuff, dude. But like I said, you ended up at Notre Dame, and we are here now. I came out and I said this, and it's been getting roasted on Twitter because, everyone's like, Penn State's not even close to being a blue blood. But like, I think you and I both know I have like an extended list of blue bloods. I think there's certain football programs across the country that when they're good, it's good for college football. I think Penn State's one of them. I think Notre Dame's one of them. I'm not going to take that away from Notre Dame. I think Texas, I think USC, I think Oklahoma, I think Nebraska, I think Michigan, Miami, yeah, probably. Like you can go down this line, but I think there's a handful of programs that are, when they're really good, it's good for college football. And this whole playoff has been super unique in my eyes. And I think this was potentially a first round matchup, but now to get this in the college football semifinals, I don't think it gets much bigger. I mean, when you're talking TV dollars, when you're talking fan bases, my family's originally from Northeastern PA, and like, if there wasn't a Penn State flag out in front of somebody's house, there was a Notre Dame flag. Yeah. So, like, I'm curious to see what the hell is going on up there right now. I haven't gotten up to the roots here lately, but I'm sure there's been a couple of brawls at some Catholic churches this past Sunday. But talk a little bit about, like, your experience at Notre Dame, because, I'm not like, I wasn't like a bred into Penn State thing. Now I kind of am. Love my school. Will do anything for it. But I do have a lot of respect for Notre Dame, and it's one of those programs that I didn't really get a lot of in terms of, like, I guess, recruiting process, because I was so moving so fast, and I kind of had shut them off early, and it was like, I'm going here and this is what I'm doing. But that's my fault, and no need to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know more about that. Like, what led you into being so quick and not as thorough as maybe you wanted to have been. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get into that later. But
I want to know. I want to know about Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think it's unique, Christian. Like, I think when I think about Notre Dame and I think about my experience and where I'm at today, I just think of the word excellence. I think every footstep that I take, it's something that we just hold on to. Is just this way of excellence and this way of thinking highly, and not so much that we're better than other folks, but that we, when we represent that university, that university represents excellence. And so that carries over into our lives today, that as a 28-year-old entrepreneur who's, on a second venture looking to do something else, it's always that I'm looking for a new challenge and another challenge. And I always want to be challenged, and there's never content, right, within my life. And it's always, how do I make myself better? How do I help other people? And I think that's what comes with Notre Dame. And I think the football experience obviously added to that, right? I think, especially being a quarterback and walking that campus, right? Like, you have to be appreciative of that opportunity and to earn a free degree at a school like that. And it's 0 to none. And so I'm super grateful for that experience. Obviously it didn't go as planned, right? But you have to look back and say, all right, I'm super thankful for the people that I've crossed and that opportunity to play in front of millions across the world, including Pennsylvania.
No doubt. But that's a unique thing though, dude. Like, I watched you obviously go through that, and you had ups, you had downs, but we can all dive into that. And I think all of us, especially at the quarterback position, have our own, anecdotes as it pertains to that and the weight of all those things. But,
we spoke about that. We had a good conversation about what I dealt with.
You and I have talked a lot about that, and it's a unique thing, right? But I think what you and I can both hammer on, and I think it plays again into this matchup, is like, going back to my statement about blue bloods, like, being the guy at either of these schools, like, means something. Yeah. And it means, it's not just something, within your locker room and the campus at that point in time. Yeah. It's usually guys before you, guys after you, all those things. And that kind of brings this whole, like, weave of what you talked about, why I was so attentive, even though I did give my pop some credit, but why I was so attentive. Like, my biggest thing was, like, leaving it better than I left it, right? In whatever capacity that was. Fortunately, I got to finish there and do a bunch of things that I wanted to do, and ran into some real shitty waves and just did it blindly. But, like, that was my biggest thing. And that's part of the reason why I did what I did with you was, I thought that this place definitely deserved a good steward of the brand, right? Yeah. And that goes back to what I'm saying. Like, you can't get two bigger brands whether, you got Portnoy out there talking shit about how it's a subpar thing, like, fuck all that, man. Like, at the end of the day, these guys earned this path. They got to this path. Notre Dame beat Georgia. Penn State had a light path. I'll be honest. I've been honest the whole time. They've had a very light path, but they've done it the way they needed to do it, right?
It's hard to win games in college football.
They were 10-point favorites. They were 14.5-point favorites, and they did it.
Yeah.
They covered both of those games. Like, you get dealt the hand you get dealt, but at the end of the day, you still have to produce. And I think the way they're playing is really good. And I've been really intrigued by this matchup because I think styles make fights, right? Yeah. And when you're sitting here watching this preview, I haven't watched a ton of Notre Dame, but the little bit that I have watched has been incredible defense.
Yeah. By
one of ours, Al Golden,
your leader. Guy?
Al was a captain at Penn State, brother.
Wow.
You 4-year letter winner, I think. Al, me too. Al was a captain at Penn State, one of our guys. So it's the Al Golden Bowl.
Got it.
In case you didn't know it. But incredible defense, very tough offensive line. I think Penn State's been trying to get back to that roots. I think they're getting close. They got some pieces. They've been doing a really good job running the football. But I just think the matchup is so good, and I really hope that the product is what all of the things that I've seen on tape are going to lead to, because it's going to come out to be, I think, a really good college football semifinal football game.
Ground and pound, baby. That's what we're hoping for. When you think about blue blood, you think about these historic programs. You think pre-air raid offense, right? Yeah. You think pre guys like you who have the strongest arm ever to come out of high school. And, you know what I mean? That's not what you think about when you think about this type of game. You think, all right, my running back is going up against a 6'2", 250 linebacker who has a neck pad and just wants to fill gaps and put his life on the line. And you think about guys screaming. You think about, I don't know why Tim Tebow comes to mind. Obviously, he's not in any of this equation, but you think about a guy like that who has that type of mentality, right? Who else? I mean, you think about the grittiness of these programs, right? Tradition, history, just let's play in between the lines and let's go at it for 60 minutes, and we'll see who comes out alive.
Let me ask you this: was Marcus on the staff when you were there?
He wasn't, but he's done a really good job of fostering community within the alumni players, right? Having guys come back preseason, during the season, giving us, kind of that feel of community to and welcoming us back onto campus at all times.
What I think is really unique too about this matchup is, like, Coach Franklin in the Penn State world has this stigma of not being able to win the big one. And I've heard some of the same rumblings kind of coming out. Like, I could be making this up, but I think some of the same messaging has come out of some circles, at least within Notre Dame, about Marcus Freeman. Like, can he get over that hump, right? Like, can we get back to national relevancy consistently?
We're always relevant.
And good. You're always relevant. I'm saying consistently. But my point being is like, this game, when you look at it too, like, you have obviously the repercussions of being able to play, or the chance to play for a national championship, which is immense. But then I think there's also this, like, thing with these fan bases about their guys, right? Like, can their guy get to that? Yeah. And all the other BS that came before this, I think gets erased after whomever wins this. And I'm just curious if I maybe overstepped by making that statement about Marcus Freeman across the board or not, because I think that's something too that's definitely going to play into this, is like, these coaches need to get over the hump in some capacity, in some way. And a win for either one, I think, secures long-term longevity in their seat.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like I'm being like we're okay with, and I'm content with winning the first round of the playoff. Yeah. But it's a big game. Georgia is a massive game. That was the first round or the second round? That was the second round.
Second.
It's So those are two big games for us, Christian, and not to be overlooked, right? Although whatever, it's expanded playoff, it's still the playoff, right? It's still 12 of the best teams competing. I think you're the only place I'd argue your statement is that it's not so much Marcus Freeman, it's Notre Dame as a whole.
Right.
And just by way, not calling anyone out, but just by way of when I was playing and who's been there the last 15 years, a lot of it's come with Brian Kelly being at the head of it, right? I love the guy. I enjoyed playing for him specifically. But I think a lot of it comes, a lot of that bad, the negative connotation around us not being able to win these big games fall under his, unfortunately, even though he was still one of the most winningest coaches in college football throughout his tenure at Notre Dame. So I think you're absolutely right in that the stigma surrounds our program, but I think you don't overlook what we just did this year. 13 wins is the most wins that we've had in program history. This is a program that's over 100 years old, right? So you consider that's an achievement in and of itself. We signed the guy to a 6-year contract, right? Extending him. So we're hoping that we get more of these types of seasons, from Coach Freeman. But yeah, man, we obviously have to win this, and it's special that you have 2 African-American coaches going up for this with a chance to compete. One of them inevitably going to be in the national championship.
Yeah, that's the first time, right?
First time.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think, you bring up a great point about Brian Kelly. Like Coach Franklin's obviously this is his 10th, 11th year now. He's had a little bit more of a runway and a little bit more a data, I guess.
On the hot seat, right? Versus Marcus, right? Like
the thing is though, is
not
like,
hot
and this
seat,
is what
but I mean hot seat for that stigma.
And that's what I've always argued, right? Is like, that's why I said it's like Coach Franklin hasn't been able to win the big ones, but he's consistently won 10 games. So it's like, it comes to that point of conversation.
Yeah.
What's the standard? And then like, how does the effort in the back, like all these things, right? There's a bunch of stuff that goes into it, and I don't really feel like getting into that. I think there's pieces that fall on both parties, right? But when you talk about this Notre Dame team specifically, what do you like about these guys this year? You mentioned 13 wins, most wins in program history. They got a chance to do something that they haven't been able to do in quite some time. Play for a national championship here with this win. Same thing for Penn State. What do you like about these guys this year? What do they bring to the table? We touched on some of the physicality stuff that at least I have respect for on the surface level, but dive a little bit deeper into that for me.
All right, so I'm here sitting with one of my good friends from high school. We won the state championship in 2014 here in New Jersey, right, against a really good Rashawn Gary at Paramus Catholic, right? Like what our team had was significant chemistry, right? Just like an innate way about us that we just all gelled together, especially our senior class more so than anything. And when I think about it, I'm really close to this Notre Dame program, right? Just because by way of my business working through NIL and seeing these guys, I just think they're all super respectful, and there's a level of chemistry and camaraderie that these guys have, right? And then I think when you think about some of the injuries that we've gone through, Christian, on the defensive side of the ball, right, with our top corner, one of the guys who's going to get drafted first round, Riley Mills, another first rounder on the defensive line, you have to consider these guys are really coachable, right? Mm-hmm. Top 5 or number 1 defense in the country, right? And so when you have some of these guys who are injured on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball, for them to be producing at the level that they're producing, right, that means that they're coachable. And that means that the coaches are doing a really good job of communicating and getting these guys in position to win games. And they're willing to do that. Similar to what's going on in the Detroit Lions. I just heard 16 players on the defensive side of the ball ruled out this year or were on the IR, and now they clinched the number 1 seed, right? So I think coachability, if that's the right word, and then just team camaraderie that I've been able to, be pretty close to. And then you have guys who are selfless. Riley Leonard is selfless. He loves Notre Dame. He's there because he's a guy who's waking up every morning and appreciating walking by the Golden Dome. Like he he's taking this all in, right? He went up to Coach Freeman and apologized after we lost to NIU. Who does that, right? So that's what I think about this team. You have to have good people who are just willing to put everything on the line and sacrifice their personal egos for the greater good of the team. I think they're doing that.
Yeah, I think Riley's got a edge to him, and I heard Coach Freeman's post game after the Georgia game talking about just him being a competitor, right? Like he just gets it done. I have some critiques in Riley's game, right?
Yeah,
just like everybody has, right? Like everybody's got flaws.
They need more coming from you than a guy sitting on the couch and just twiddling.
Well, I mean, but like, here's the thing, right? You know, it's also hard as a football guy to say some of the things that I say about him, knowing how much of a competitor he is, because oftentimes that little extra chip on the shoulder, the little shit to him, right? As they say, the guy's got shit to him. It's hard to like count those guys out, right? And I think that's kind of encapsulating like what you said about the intangibles of this football team. I think he's kind of like a golden standard, perfect example of it. And that's why it's so unique is he does things that frustrate the shit out of you, but then he does things where you're like, you just kind of throw your hands up in there and you're like, worked out. And that's why I'm happy that guy's on my team. That's why I'm happy I got 13. Right. And I think that's a very interesting thing. When I really dive into this, man, like you mentioned like kind of the old school slugfest. Like I think that for Penn State, and I think Notre Dame as well, I don't know if Notre Dame's capable of turning this into a track meet offensively, especially with our defense. And I don't think Penn State's necessarily capable of turning into a track meet either with Notre Dame's defense, right? So I think it's going to be this slop fest, slug fest, like, hey, fucking, we just had a snow day. It's 4th grade. You call all your buddies and you go play tackle football in the drain field for 10 hours. Like that's kind of the type of game I think this is going to end up being. Yeah. And it's going to, at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to 15, Drew Aller on our side and 13. And who's going to make 5 plays throughout this game that are going to ultimately tip the scale, in my opinion. I think the running backs are going to get theirs. I think the defense is going to get theirs. But I really do think that it's going to come down to the quarterback play, as always, as it usually does. And who's going to make the play? What do you got? What do you got for Drew? What do you got for our guy? What's your take on 15?
I didn't watch him enough, but I know you guys. I hadn't watched him enough, but when I have watched him, he seems like a slinger. He seems like a guy who's really confident in his ability to throw.
He's playing confident ball right now. He's playing really confident ball right now.
But again, I haven't watched enough, but seems like a tough dude, right? Who's just like him, and I think of him and like Jackson Dart, the way that they just approach the game. It seems like they approach it with the mindset of nobody's better than me, right? And I also have a chip on my shoulder. But he has another year to come. Yeah, he's coming back, right? The other kid transferred.
He's coming back.
Yeah, other kid transferred. So, he has this program in a position that it hasn't been in a while. So he's probably really confident right now going into this game. As are we. So we'll see. And I think we're going to do a good job of defending, 44, Warren, who seems to be the only target.
It's been a tough task.
The only target.
It's been a tough task.
Yeah, but who else do you – I mean, again, I might –
I know what you're saying. It's been a tough task, though.
Apologies for my ignorance, but who else do you guys have as a complete target, as a weapon?
We got some guys who can get it done. It's a little bit by committee. Which is I think it's very dependent on our running game. We got two great backs. If we can run the football, I think it puts us in a good position. I think it's similar to the way you guys are built. Like if you guys can run the football, you're in a good position. If you're having a hard time running the football, comes down to, again, and you and I both know this, when you can't run the football, everybody knows that whomever's back there 5.5 yards deep is the guy that's ultimately going to drive the ship here and move the football down the field and stay on schedule.
Right.
It's a tough position to be in consistently. And you ultimately, no matter who you got out there, have to oftentimes compensate for tight coverage with some good throws and some anticipatory throws and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. These guys have played a lot of ball. Riley Leonard has played a lot of ball. Maybe not at this stage, but I'm super confident in his ability to lead us to a victory, a lovely victory.
All right. So what do you got? How does it play out? We're keeping this. This is a quick pocket breakdown. How does this play out, B? What do you see?
I think this starts out as a slug. I think it starts out as a slugfest. Get the jitters out, right? We started slow last week against Georgia. I think this game is played, what's it called, in the trenches, right? I think it's a run heavy game, maybe 65-35 for us. I think we start to open up play action after that, maybe early second quarters, third quarter, and then I think this game ends. I'm talking to you, but I think this game ends 27-21, 27-24. The Fighting Irish. Make sure this goes. This session, this podcast goes to our fans as well.
It'll be out there. It'll be out there.
But I think it's a close one, and you guys have a really good team, man. Again, with a lot of confidence right now. So.
Yeah, and I think I have to kind of obviously take our boys, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, though, with the score. Like, I really do think it's going to be a mid-20s to mid to low 20s, upper 20s type of game, whether it's 28, 24, like you said, 27, 21, 27, 24, something like that. Like, I think that's kind of where it's going to live. I also think, and I said this last week, I got a lot of respect for some of the shit you guys showed on special teams last week. Obviously, the kick return's big. I thought that the substitution, legal, illegal, who knows? But I thought that was fucking brilliant. How
about running into the fucking punter twice? I think that's brilliant. I think that's a mind fuck. I don't know if that's brilliant. I think that's a little homer coming out of you. I don't know how brilliant that same guy too. I don't know how brilliant that is, but mind fuck for both sides. No, the special teams.
I think that's going to be a factor. I think it's going to be a factor.
It's an underrepresented. What's the right word I'm looking for? But just underappreciated factor from a lot of people's perspectives. But I think if you can be a difference maker, as we both know, right? If you can be a difference maker in that part of the game, I think it could change the outcome significantly.
Yeah,
it's one play, right? Like you get 3-7 points, or
what is there? 12 reps of it a game, 15 reps of it a game.
You get another possession. That's what I think Coach Freeman harps on. It's like, can we steal another possession? And whether that's drawing guys off sides because there's a lack of discipline, right? Can we steal another possession? And that can really change the game.
Yeah. Listen, I know. My ass is going to be glued to my couch and my eyes glued to the screen on Thursday night. Sounds like yours is as well.
I'll be down there enjoying it.
Oh, you're going to be down there?
Yeah.
All right. I've made enough trips. Like you said, I got a young family. I can't quite swing this one. I said the only one I'm swinging is a national championship, so we'll see if I get that one.
You're gonna have to wait a few years.
Oh man. But B, dude, listen, man, appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate you previewing the Fighting Irish. Ton of respect for, and I'm going to say this on record, and you said it before, and I don't know if you'll go on record, but 2 blue bloods, brother, duking this out in the college football semifinals. What else you got? What do you want to finish with? Here? You had something at the beginning. My brain's not working too great right now.
I think that was it. I think I think about this game. I think about college football at the highest of levels, and I think about that this is so good for college football. And I think about you and I both missing out on what could have been millions of dollars through NIL. Right? I don't know why I think about that, but I think about that also because I know why I think about that, Christian, is because it's leveled the playing field. I read something. It's just like, all right, Georgia, Alabama are not to be found, right? At this point of the season is very, very rare and probably hasn't happened in a decade or longer, right? Where those two teams are not part of the 4 teams at the end of the season. And so NIL has been, for what it's worth, it's been a blessing for college athletics. We see two programs who have alumni who want to see their programs win, come up and support their guys, and it's led to this. Other than that, super excited again for Marcus Freeman or Coach Franklin, who both of them I have super admiration for, to be competing and then finally get on the stage of the national championship. There always has to be a first, right? When you think about African Americans making progress in this world, and so I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, man.
Other than that, I will be enjoying. I heard it's a little chilly down in Miami, but
Might be.
It's snowing. It's 25 degrees here and snowing. So
Yeah, I got some snow. I got to go blow some here, I think, so we can get the driveway cleared off. A little late night grind.
Yeah, I love it. No, man, I appreciate you having me on. Always love the Penn State community. I'll end with that. My mom went there. Yeah. My aunt went there. I was supposed to go there. Life is crazy. Life is crazy. I wouldn't. I don't know what would have happened if I would have been sitting here. Obviously, I wouldn't have been sitting here with you, but.
Who knows? Who knows, right? But that is funny. It is crazy. It works out for the best. Absolutely. In both ways. But dude, like I said, as always, good chopping it up. Yeah. Hopefully we get to do this more often, previewing some of these matchups, because I think this would be a good one to see it needs to happen more than what it has happened. I mean, what the last matchup was 2007 for the first whiteout, I think.
Oh, was it?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the last Notre Dame Penn State matchup.
We can make it happen as independents.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys can. I gotta go talk to Coach Franklin. But I think just seeing this type of matchup consistently would be really good.
I agree.
Last consistent series I think was the late '80s, early '90s. But good for college football nonetheless. And we will see one of these very storied programs in the national championship by the end of Thursday night. So, B, appreciate you chopping up, dude. We'll catch up soon, and we are out.
Thanks, brother.